遊びテック。
Welcome to what's being billed as the interview of the century. Myself and my Digitiser co-founder Tim Moore, Mr. Hares, being interviewed by the man himself, Chris Bell, who some of you may know from Super Page 58, the first and longest lasting Digitiser fan sites.
And currently only. No one makes fan sites of Digitiser anymore. Chris, for some reason, has kept going.
Something to do, isn't it?
Something to do. Keeps him out of trouble. So you probably, are you feeling a bit nervous?
Mildly.
My belt's falling down, so.
Only the fact that I've been reading your work since I was 14.
Well, you met me before, though.
Well,
and
yeah.
Tim.
And even me.
And
Yes.
even him.
Yeah, I've interviewed you.
You
before.
have actually. You have done that. That was traumatic
That
for
was
me.
pre-COVID times.
Because I didn't know what questions you were asking.
You don't this time.
No,
I don't
I
this
won't.
time either. So you have prepared some questions for us because we thought it would be fun for this 30th anniversary celebration of 30 glorious years of Digitiser, 30 non-stop glorious years with no breaks in the reign of Digitiser at all. Running out of steam with this sentence. Take breaths. Chris, would you like to ask us some questions,
Yeah,
please? As well
on 30 years, what the hell? Why has Digitiser endured all this time?
Well, some would say it hasn't really, because it's very different to what it was when we did it.
But look around us. There's all this going on. There's interest.
Yes, but
Nobody's making TV shows about Planet Sound, are they?
no, but then what would stop, like Dave Hunter, who did Planet Sound, doing it? Nothing, if he wanted to.
But he's got better things to do, and we haven't.
Exactly. More to the point is there's a slight sort of sad, tragic aspect to what's happening here. This thing that I did when I was 21 years old.
You should have said, why do you still bother with the
Why do you still bother?
question?
But then I would have to look to myself, and then the on starts.
Yes.
Why am I still doing it? I don't know really. The reason why I came back is partly down to Sanya, who's there focusing the camera at the moment. That dear, who I'd stopped having anything to do with Mr. Biffo or Digi for a long time. But shortly before I did kind of come out of self-imposed exile, Tim and I went out for a drink, and I think we started talking about doing a Digitiser annual, and that was, I think, what got the ball rolling. And then bizarrely, Rab Florence, who now presents GamesMaster, contacted me out of the blue around the same time and said, I'd like to do a documentary on Digitiser. I think it was around like the 21st anniversary or something at that point. I mean, that never came to pass because I think you pitched it to people and they were like, oh, why would want to do that? But the two things kind of made me realise, maybe there's still some sort of interest in Digi. And then Sanya, I don't know how we got onto it. It was CyberX. Do you remember? I know. I shouldn't.
As soon as you say those words to me, you should imagine the answer forming itself ready.
Nod.
He was one of the late characters.
Was he late? Was he post Tim?
Yeah.
Oh,
way
of
post.
course. Oh, that's fine then.
It was this millennium.
Oh, okay. So it was probably more kind of the era when I hated other games journalists because he was based on a games journalist who he used to have a column in, I can't remember even which. Do you know which magazine it was?
No.
A magazine column in a games magazine,
it's so hypocritical this as well, because he just used to have this diary of him going out to clubs and, you know, with glamorous women, nothing to do with games, because, you know, on Digitiser it was 100% games. It's the main thing we
Nothing
were known
irrelevant
for.
at all.
No, nothing irrelevant at all. But we lampooned him with this character Cyber X, and then Sanya, I discovered that he was still going. I don't remember how. I think someone retweeted him on Twitter, because I used to lurk on Twitter before I kind of went public again, and it was like, I can't be the same chap. And he's now a motivational speaker, but like the maddest, most awful motivational speaker. His whole thing is like, you're a stupid piece of shit, you're an arse, you're an idiot, and it's just awful.
Demotivational speaker.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was, you know, and everything about him was just defensive, and, you know, I've gone bankrupt 10 times, you know, but I've got this car, look at my car, yeah, you could have a car like that too if you weren't so shit. So he was like doing a literally.
You still didn't listen to him, Paul.
and yet he's got that car. I car share with my dad. So yeah, so I don't know. I just wrote a Cyber X piece based upon him now being a motivational speaker, just for fun. And Sanya read it and thought it was really funny. And then I thought, oh, okay. So with the thing, talking to Tim, we would go out and just like reminisce, wouldn't we? We'd just kind of
been doing that for 30 years.
30 years. Yeah. So we would often go out and look at Super Page 58. What was it called? Super Page 58.
25 years of my life.
Yeah. We would go and look at Super Page 58 and look at
laugh at our own jokes. Laugh until we cry at our own jokes for hours on end.
Nothing's really changed, to be honest.
It's like, we're the new Oscar Wildes.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It was a combination of me remembering it fondly, knowing that at the time people remembered it fondly, and then putting this thing up on digitiser2000.com, and that sort of just started the ball rolling. And then why Digitiser now? Why is it still going? I suppose because over the last few years it's like we've sort of discovered a bit of a new audience. People like yourself kind of, you know, resurrected Super Page 58. Others kind of, you know, will relentlessly kind of go, stay away from my bins at me on Twitter and the like. And it's so people remember it, and it was like, I remember it fondly, and it is my Sergeant Pepper, whereas Tim has kind of gone on to bigger and better things. I did have a career until COVID. Well, you write books.
You've got BAFTA nominations.
Yeah, I know, they don't count for anything, do they? Just vanity prizes.
I think what's
trinkets.
Yeah, I think what's nice is that we you know, because it was we had such a stupidly fun time doing it, and being literally, it was only done to make each other laugh, and we had paid no heed really at all to what we should have been doing professionally in terms of producing a daily online magazine. Well, online.
Well, take us back there then, because it's fair to say that the two of you in the teletext office was pretty unique, and the rest of the office was not really anything like what you were doing. No. So you joined 1992, didn't you, before the service even launched?
Yeah, we both did.
Yeah.
So how did you meet, and how did you start?
By accident, really, because you were doing the teletext games page. It was just a page as part of the teenage section.
This is a classic, exactly, because somehow, even though I literally knew nothing about video games, because you're under 30 just. Oh well, I mean, yeah, you've got an ear, and perhaps you know about video games. So what do you do here? Yeah, I'll do that. But I thought it was anyway. It worked out very well in there because Paul was doing the graphics for teletext, which I was like completely obsessed with, because I just couldn't begin to get my head around how he was able to produce kind of offensive caricatures of people in the office on frigging teletext. It was extraordinary. And then, of course, it turned out that he was also really good at video games.
And Paul Goddard.
I do remember. I often think about that.
That picture.
I do remember that. I can see it vividly now. There's a bloke in the office. He was a bit passive aggressive. I'm trying to justify the terrible thing that you did to him, which was to produce. Was there any reason, any rationale? Was he ill with a runny tummy?
Well, no. I don't. Was it poo or was it something else? I thought it was something white that we drew coming out.
I have to say, maybe you went and did a director's cut on that after, but the one I remember was poo.
It was poo. Okay, well, it was poo.
Please, please.
We could send images to people on the internal kind of teletext mail, and I did a picture of, or a caricature of this guy who was quite easy to caricature. I mean, he wasn't weird looking or anything, but just some people have those kind of strong features. But I think, was he naked?
He was naked, he was squatting down, he was looking at it, and somehow, exactly on television, it looked cheeky, so he was like this back. With all this matter coming out of down below.
It was poo-poo.
Well,
It's spelled out.
I'm glad you say it was. I mean, I'm glad to hear you confirming that it was poo-poo.
Okay, we'll say it's poo-poo. I think maybe it was poo-poo, but it's spelled out his name. From this poor guy, he did not deserve that. I think we sent it to our friend Dave in the office, partly because that was it. Because Dave, he had his back to David Staveley's office.
Oh, yes.
It was the deputy editor, a slightly scary deputy editor. So you don't get a preview of these images before you open them up. So that was it. That's what happened. So we sent it to Dave, and he told us he opened this thing up. There's this picture of this guy shitting his own name. And he had to quickly just close it because the editor was like in this window behind him.
Oh, dear.
Anyway,
Didn't Dave Hunter get a cock in the mail as well?
a cock in them. I don't remember a cock in them.
Got a mutually assured destruction kind of thing.
Well, yeah, because I think Dave started it because I remember he sent us in the internal mail his plate from lunch. Dave Hunter, who did the music pages. He was briefly in the band Drugstore, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think he. But he sent us his dirty plate from his lunch, like a padded envelope in the internal mail.
In our pigeonhole. It was in a little wrapped up in a jiffy bag.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. So that sort of begun a bit of a sort of war of attrition, which reached its apex with chucking grapes across the office because he sat.
Because he was quite a long way away. Actually, there was the whole. Well, there was the sort of the Bambaboozle area, and then there was the whole sports thing, and then there was Dave, and then there was the editor's office.
So the grapes were above Dave's head, above the editor's sort of window.
Was there like a general air of consternation at your behaviour throughout the office?
Yes.
I mean, and rightly so, because we were kind of a corrosively bad influence on and it was an open plan office, and people, other people were trying to get a serious day's work done.
Yeah.
Even the Bamboozle guy, frankly, I don't like. How long is this going to take you to do that?
One day.
But he was quite a nice guy. He was a nice guy.
Oh,
but he was literally driven to distraction by our stupidity on a quite regular basis. I was like, shut up, please, shut up.
But you see, he was it was Julian, his name was, and I knew him well because I knew him from my previous job. I got him the job at Teletext. I've been to his wedding and everything, and we were like good friends then until I met Tim.
Destroyed his sanity.
He would just like sigh because we would be making so much noise. Occasionally he would ask us to turn down MTV, which we'd have on. That would be about it. But it would be like, I've got a microphone. Will you turn that down, please? But the one which we've told this story before was the tennis racket with the box, the hitting. You remember that?
Yes.
Well, I don't know why we even had a tennis racket, but we had a box of, I don't know what was in there under the desk, and then just because Tim and I used to sit with our backs to each other. And then occasionally just hear like, and then I'd turn around and Tim would just be back to working. that I remember.
That was very loud.
That I remember really.
The other thing which we used to do, because that was the very early days of these sort of Mega Drive type games, and we imagined, it was all sort of quite fun. You could, kind of hack into the sub menus and get all the voice samples and things, things they said in there. And I think it was obviously some Jungle Book. Game.
It was.
Yeah. And that was a particularly fruitful scene, so you get all the little individual things that everyone's doing the game. And our favourite one, it's Baloo the bear! And so we just we had to dial various people on the side of the office.
Yeah. Just ring them up, play that, and put the phone down. It's Baloo the bear!
Very self-important professional people.
We got busted by the sports guy who looked over us, somehow knew it was us. Well, probably because he could hear
who else?
The bear. And he just
Process of elimination.
Why?
I don't understand.
Why?
Actually, that was, to be honest, that was the overriding kind of editorial policy was just why.
Yeah.
Why? And they couldn't understand what we thought we were doing, what the fuck we were messing around making stupid noises all the time, and yet somehow it was always really hard to know whether or not you could never really quite take them at face value, these viewing figures, but they were done by some survey in the same way that TV viewing. So the first few came out, we thought, like, wow, we've got like 1.5 million, 1.7 million people.
It was ridiculous.
And they were confirmed as these things came through, and we were effectively like the most popular by some distance.
It was an
of any of
instant
the
hit, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
but apart from with a certain chunk of the audience who you got to speak to on day one, didn't you?
Yeah. Funny enough, actually, filming yesterday, I had a big rant about literally that. Because we weren't covering the Amiga. Because there was no point covering the frickin' Amiga, because the Amiga was, as we correctly stated, a dying format. So we just wanted to, cover the new, exciting, sexy stuff, which was,
well, it's 1992.
Exactly.
Console gaming, Sonic Tuesday, and GamesMaster and Bad Influence just started on TV.
Yeah.
Now Digi's come along. That's like the first thing you guys pretty much did was go to the launch of Sonic 2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was actually. I'm sure the those in the know, like all the kind of our bosses, had no idea that this like gigantic explosion of kind of all the console stuff was about to happen. I'm sure they didn't realise that, because it had been before that. What the video games thing that our predecessors had been running was very closely
one page.
Well, it was all based on Amiga and PC stuff, or just Amiga stuff.
ST as well, I think.
Yeah.
They did on FX and everything.
So suddenly, of course, like and when these viewing figures came out and people, we had to send lots of press releases to people, because obviously we have to sell ourselves. People, I'm not, it's very hard for them to take us seriously.
They weren't doing it. Teletext.
No, they didn't do it. So we did our own PR, and then started getting sent, and there was a high watermark of the whole kind of SNES Mega Drive thing. And some days they'd be like, we get 10 or 12 games console. And then some of them we'd play, and some of them Paul would play. And,
you were the PC man eventually.
I was a PC man a bit, but and when we'd sit there, the whole setup was ludicrous, frankly, with this massive, pre flat screen tellies with this gigantic cathode ray tube like between us. It was huge. It was like by far the biggest one in the entire office, really, wasn't it? Because we had to review video games. we didn't have to listen to MTV really loudly all day, but we also, because that was also quite a new thing. We took full advantage of
back
that.
when they played music videos, that was it was the golden era of MTV.
So this is in the middle of the office with everybody else working.
Well, it was in the corner, but it was an open plan office. So, and we did sort of barricade ourselves into an extent, put lots of dividers.
Yeah.
So, but that was mainly to give good cover for the cherries and grapes and stuff.
It was bad, but the trouble was, it would occasionally mean that you could have other people creep up on us because they'd come around the side, and that was, I remember we were playing, I think it was a Premier Manager or something, or Championship Manager, whichever it was back in the day, and we'd changed all the players' names to things like Stink Penis. I remember what the others were, not the features editor. I just heard this voice went, that's interesting. Oh shit. It's like, Stink Penis crosses to anyway, so it was it.
So they tolerated it because we were successful and had lots of lots of viewers and so on. But they also, I think it's the same. I discovered this with jokes over the years. There is no such thing as the joke that everyone finds funny. No. And if you don't find it funny, it really, really annoys you. And so they didn't find it funny, and it really, really annoyed them. And so we would get into regularly get into varying degrees of trouble for being stupid or irresponsible.
It seems to have kind of mutated from not getting the joke into being paranoid that it was on them.
Yeah, I think
which
there was
again, to be fair, it sometimes quite often was, but. But they did exactly. When they started, because we were astonished at how much filth really we were able to sneak through, not even particularly subtly.
Danny Taurus.
That sort of thing. But just various not very complicated euphemisms about grotesque sexual acts and stuff would just go through. I mean, repeated references to each other being sexually attracted to other people.
Yes,
Every
things we wouldn't
review-
get away with now,
No.
basically, and wouldn't want to. But
Like every other review, that you seem to like refer to each other and then kind of have
Yeah,
some
you
kind of running thing going.
you knew who was writing the review by who the other person.
Yes, from the
who was
forensic,
getting insulted.
as a talent from your teletext forensic viewpoint, it's quite useful to be able to go like, well, who was? I want to see.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's no way of going into this discussion without making sort of comments that are now through a filtered lens of 2022
Yeah,
inappropriate. So
this is the thing. It's like I sometimes see pages rediscovered that go up on Super Page 58. I do wince at times.
Yes.
Because we're all a lot more kind of.
But it got past the sub editors, or did it?
It was
Were
the-
you
it wasn't-
pretty much doing your own thing at that point?
It completely, honestly, everything really did. And then somebody who was sort of a mate of ours, Richard Maris, who then realised that sometimes he would sub-edit stuff, and he would realise about things and would come over and sort of like, you can't really do that.
Yeah, I
But
remember
then-
we got into trouble for a list of carry-on films. Do you remember that one?
Well,
That
I
was
remember the
bad.
list of I can't remember. I couldn't tell you a
Well,
single
the
name.
one we got into trouble was Carry On Burma Railway. That was that was a bit. It's like, no.
Yeah, that's not even a euphemism or anything, is it? That's just straight up offensive reference.
But it's like tucked away at the end of the charts as well. Like nobody would have seen it unless they're there.
I mean,
Hang on for the Easter egg.
and I'm not proud of all of it, but I mean, I don't think it was ever with malice anything we ever did. It was more just pushing it to just see what would happen. There was an element of sort of just experimentation to see what we could get away with. We knew we shouldn't be, and I suppose it's like if you ever been in a sort of comedy writers' room. There is, I mean, I've heard awful things said in those rooms, but that's what we were doing. We're sort of workshopping just to try and make the other person laugh.
And obviously, it's quite Moorish when you put through a filthy reference and nobody notices it. 1.7 million people have just seen this, but I think also because it wasn't just that they didn't get it; because the whole way that Digitiser was, it was like, imagine. I did feel sorry for the people, the editorials and the sub editors. Like, what's he even trying to say? What does this mean? Oh, just forget. Yeah, whatever. They just saw streams of gibberish and just sort of like, yeah, fine, whatever.
Wave it through.
Apparently, it's popular, so let's.
Well, look, let me give you an example of a stream of gibberish. This is from one of the top 10s. I don't know why I'm focusing so much on them, but this was a top 10 sentences featuring all the letters of the alphabet. So number 2, the kind cigarette ate the boy's axe. Hello, I am A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, Q, R, S, T, Z.
This is stuff from the back of the exercise book, isn't it?
Yeah, just look at the long Aquazoo King. And then, I mean, it's like our favourite battles, the Hare and Hounds Xmas Eve jumpings. It's like, what even is that? Colin Terry's brother Kickins. I don't even know what some of this means. Our top 10 phone games. I don't know. Right, this one I don't even know. Right, so our top 10 phone games. Don't know what that means for a start. But number 1 is Detective Sergeant Szymanski. Record breakers stroke biggest welder. What the hell is going on? And then,
Okay, I do actually. I that first, I do know what that is.
oh, I know what that is. Yes, yeah,
do know what
that was a predecessor
Yes.
to Ring Cell,
Yes,
wasn't
it was.
Yes, I do. Yes, there you go. Anyway, phone games. Now I get.
Now
that.
you're weeding
Phone
through
This is pre.
scales
This is
of
pre
drop.
Ring Cell.
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it?
I sell slates, but I mean,
It was actually. I do really still feel quite bad about the Detective Sergeant Szymanski thing, because me and my friends used to go to each other's houses when we were like sort of 14, 15, and about 1 in the morning. We're just like, back in the days, literally just a sort of phone directory and like sort of find a number of somebody who lived in the right area, and just phone them up and say, oh hello, wait for some awful, wait for some like an elderly person to answer. I'm so sorry, but is your son in? And if they said I haven't got a son, then you start again. Is your son in? Well, no, he sounds like, I'm sorry, Dave, this is Detective Sergeant Szymanski of Richmond Police Station. I'm afraid your son is in our cells at the moment. He's we found him in the street doing. I mean, it's all a bit upsetting. But anyway, you need to come down. What a shitty thing to do, and we did that a lot.
But the thing is, so that we did as well, me and my mates, and that's why when we came together, you know, we would always do it. We even did it together just for fun. Remember when we went to your house, we were writing.
Things didn't even make it on air.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. That was the early days of computer generated voices.
Yeah, that wasn't.
Yeah. Okay.
That,
Well, anyway.
It's not mentioned that one. Yeah, we did do some.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Well, that was the other thing that was particularly weird, because I think it just seemed like, you know, when we started off, because Paul could do these amazing graphics, even though clearly it's a graphically challenging medium, but Paul was able to do like, fucking hell, that's like, that is Sonic the Hedgehog, that is Mario.
On day one.
So we did, you know, so on that basis we played it quite straight back, and like, you know, hey, it's you know, Super Mario, or no, it was Sonic the Hedgehog 2 launch day, whatever it was, and had loads of stuff about that, and you know, were like a daily video games magazine. I don't know. I mean, because obviously quite quickly we gave up doing that. I'm not quite sure why. Was it because we just got bored?
Bored.
Yeah. We had to do it every day.
Wasn't enough.
It's a lot. There's a lot.
But there's not. But it's weird to get bored, because actually had about 11 words. And like the idea that we couldn't even bring ourselves for more than about a week to string together 11 relevant, coherent words about a video game.
But it wasn't just that.
It's really embarrassing.
It was the making each other laugh, I think, and that became, as you sort of said, addictive. You know, that in itself, and what we could get away with, and so it was the two things. It was a perfect storm, really.
It's like a chemical reaction putting you two together.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And
the fact that somehow that we got away with it, and then
for a while.
Well, I mean,
Long
but
enough.
actually, quite a long while in the end.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the Noel Edmonds thing was the first thing that got us into trouble.
was that? No, that was. I think it was the Street Fighter 2 thing.
No, it was.
Was it?
It was teletext wrapped over sick video games joke. That was the first one.
Yeah, that was.
No, that was that.
Yeah.
No, Noel Edmonds was the first one. That was when they started watching us closely. The first time we got into real trouble was teletext
wrapped over sick video joke.
That was the first. That was bad.
not the kind of publicity that you wanted.
No.
I don't actually. To be fair, it should have been the kind of. I mean, teletext. What publicity does teletext
it was.
ever get?
Wait a minute, I'm getting confused. No, Chris, you probably know. What's the story with the? Am I getting confused? The Noel Edmonds coming out the top of the console, was that teletext wrapped over?
Yeah.
No.
It was the epilepsy comment, wasn't it?
Epilepsy.
Epilepsy.
Street Fighter 2. And so that had the attention.
That's it.
Yeah.
We're telling you things you know. Yes, we Tim did a joke about epilepsy. It wasn't a joke about epilepsy. It was purely referring to the fact that, you know,
there'd been a tabloid hysteria about Street Fighter 2, I think it wasn't it anyway, giving people epilepsy because of the flashing lights.
Yeah.
So I made some throwaway comment about tried to actually do some proper vaguely relevant journalism about, like, you know, kind of anyway, Street Fighter 2 launched so time to whatever and develop epilepsy. I don't know.
So the Sun, who had it in for teletext because, teletext, new media, threatening the Sun's
well,
dominance.
because they were owned by the Daily Mail.
Yeah, and that as well.
So they were, the Sun suddenly paid interest in a medium that they had obviously, like most people, ignored.
Yeah, but wasn't it a guy
closely.
from the British Epilepsy Society or something rang up and spoke to you and said?
And you grabbed the phone and made a fart noise and put the phone
Yes.
down. And it was all your fault.
Yes. I just laughed at him when he rang up. Yeah.
PR training for Paul.
Yeah, but what I think happened is you calmed him down. You thought everything was fine, and then he still rang the Sun.
Do you think he would have done that anyway then?
It may have been the Sun that put him up to it in the first place, for all we know.
Actually, yeah, probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're thinking about it. It was. Yeah, I bet it was. Yeah.
Well, what was the Noel Edmonds one then?
Oh no, it was because basically what happened. You were out, and this went in the Sun, and then Karen Reid, who was our features editor, went through Digitiser line by line with me over the phone, and there was a thing on there about. Yeah, I know you know this. You know everything. But there was a thing on there. Yeah, it's for them. There was a joke on there about, I can't remember, a 40 Mega Drive or something. Then Noel Edmonds would emanate from the top of it, and she asked me. She said, "So what is this? Is this a spoof?" And I'm like, "Yes, it's not actually happening. We're not.
Yes.
Also, we're not libeling him."
Daniels.
Yeah. So anyway, that was that. I remember that. I was getting confused. Chris, sorry.
Yeah, you quickly made a mark. But these antics, they weren't even confined to the UK, though, were they? Because let me read you the extract for a review. When Virgin took us on holiday to LA in 1994, one of the sights to catch our eye was the huge dent we made on the roof of our rental car by driving a barrier in the Disneyland car park. So, you all went to LA, didn't you?
Yeah.
And this was with Violet as well.
Yes,
this was exactly as we were alluding to earlier. There was so much money washing about in video games at that point. They would just when there was a game, even if a really shit game was launched, there'd be this massive party. They'd hire sort of stately home, put like 150 journalists up in hotels and lavish dinners. And at one point, I mean, the woman who was in charge of Virgin's,
do you know she's still going?
Danielle Woodier.
She's still going.
Is she?
She's still in Games PR.
Christ.
I saw someone retweet it or likes out of hers on Twitter the other day.
What
It
a
was
survivor. They had all this money, and occasionally we would, once we were taken seriously, it was quite a hard job for us to get taken seriously by the sort of software makers. But when it came to the point that we were too big to argue with, oh God, so they started sending us the games, and then I think I got a feeling this whole thing, we kept sort of wanting to go, basically we liked a day out of the office. We said, can we come to your office and have a look at your new games? And some people say yes. Anyway, this Virgin woman kept sort of saying, like, yeah, oh no. And I think in the end, I don't know what happened. I think she just overcompensated.
Violet. She'd been invited and she was going. She said, I really think you should take the Digitiser guys because we were mates with Violet.
It was all thanks to Violet.
But it was great because we spent one day in Virgin Interactive's office and then had the rest of the week to just mess around in LA. And we very much did, as evidenced by your broken rib.
The last night in the hotel.
Last night in the hotel, yes.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Well, funny enough,
it's so weird. Like American hotels, it was like a really sort of it was kind of embassy in the sort of atrium area and stuff. But they was really weird. They're normally quite abstemious and quite sort of but they just had this happy hour. Which I don't know if it was free.
I remember it as free because there was
I remember it as being free.
Or was it buy one get one free? Maybe because
I don't remember buying any.
No, I don't.
I remember there was
just going down.
It was like 2 hours of tequila that appeared to be anyway. Obviously after the 2 hours.
And we would take it in turns to go down with a tray and then just come up with a tray loaded with tequila and. It was one of the most drunk I've ever been in my life. This is making us all, by the way, sound far more rock and roll than we were. We was just silly most of the time, but this was probably the closest we got to being a bit rock and roll. Was messing around in LA and getting drunk on tequila.
Yes, and then having a race around the atrium, and then I tripped over and climbed an ice machine bin, something like that, and it broke my rib. Too drunk to notice.
No, I rugby tackled you because you were winning the race. I had my top off because I had a Batman mask. No, you had a Batman. Did you have? We had makeup on. I know that because Violet had done our makeup. I can tell. I do remember it very clearly. Violet had done our makeup. I had really bad sunburn, so I didn't have anything on my top. Just like some cut off denim shorts. I'd bought a Batman mask at Warner, so I had makeup on and my Batman mask. You had makeup on. We were very drunk. We decided, first of all, we played hide and seek because I remember hiding under a bench on outside the room or one of the rooms, and some big American guy, brilliant, like kind of classic stereotypical American with like a big Texan style hat on. But hey, just hiding out there, buddy. I was like 22-year-old man. I was like a full-grown man hiding under a bench. And then, so we played hide and seek first, and then we decided to have a race, which I think Violet might have challenged us to see who was the fastest of you and I for some reason. And yes, as you overtook me and we're going to win the race, I rugby tackled you. And then the next day...
It all happened so quickly.
Yes, yeah, and the next day... Well, you then...
We were going home the next day, weren't we?
Yeah, and you thought you had alcohol poisoning because your stomach hurt so much, and it turned out it was broken ribs.
Phew!
But as well, because you're obviously not in a great way, you went to bed and I was still in Violet's room with Violet and Henry, her then boyfriend, and there was a knock at the door, and we opened the door, and Tim had piled up this like stand-up ashtray from the days when you could smoke indoors with like these trays of ice.
Did
like,
I?
From the ice machine.
Really?
You not remember this?
No, of course I don't remember
this
it.
Bloody ashtray just crashes in while his ice goes in the room.
God,
Look out! Just literally seeing you disappear, giggling, running off back to your room.
Oh, see, I'm so proud of myself for doing that. Broken rib. leglessly drunk.
So I blocked the toilet.
Probably
the following
half
morning.
naked, and like I've still got the wherewithal to pull off that fantastic.
Tim's back. Goes.
So that was definitely top 5 most drunk I've ever been in my entire life.
Little trip to Universal Studios.
Yeah.
The
yes.
the ET ride.
Yeah, Universal Studios, we got into trouble there because we it was one of those, take a photo of yourself dressed up and on the cover of a magazine. You remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. And we were going to dress up for a cover of like Modern Bride or some wedding magazine, and I put on a bride's outfit. You were dressed as like a soldier with like a baseball bat or something. And I had a gun. We were posing for this, and then the manager comes out. No cross-dressing. No. I remember the poor young guy who was like had been pissing himself while we were getting dressed. And, I'm really sorry, guys. I thought it was funny. But yeah, we were booted out of there. Anyway, sorry, Chris, questions. You've got probably loads. We were rambling on.
Well, you mentioned going in to see the games people.
Yeah.
Obviously, Digi had a bit of a reputation, and especially with Sega, I think it's fair to say.
Yes.
So, do you remember Mark Maslowitz?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Some of the trips to see him sounded like they were a bit interesting.
Yes. Well, yeah, he was a really sweet man. I think he follows me on Twitter. A really lovely guy, poor, long-suffering Mark Maslowitz. But yeah, do you remember that? The thing is, we didn't just do it to him. When his office, he had a pad of paper on his office, and he popped out for a second. It'll be like lifted up sort of midway through and do loads of cocks on it and put it back down.
That's very nice of us.
That was, well, we did worse because remember we were in the pub once, and some guy. Said, could you mind my seat? And he had a book.
He had a book, yes,
he
I
had
do
a
remember.
novel on his table. And he went to the bar while we were minding his table. We drew a cock in the middle of the book.
Well, okay, that's fine. No, that's fine because we would never see him again. So no problem. We weren't relying on him to give us free games. The Maslowitz incident is irresponsible, especially that one. There was a victimless crime. Particularly when he gives the book to his kids to read out the next pages.
Back to the person who borrowed it off.
Mark Maslowitz. At that point, it's like Mark Maslowitz was thinking like, so maybe it's me. Back to the desk.
Lost time.
Oh dear.
But there's that friction there because you're giving Sega's games mediocre, pretty honest reviews, but you've got 1.5 million readers a week, so they feel like they have to deal with you.
Yeah, and funnily enough, actually, we know someone who now works basically in. I mean, it's all very different these days. Community manager, don't we? Marta, who works for Sega. Oh, Marta, there we go. Yeah, Marta, thanks for Marta. Well, our friend as well now. But she doesn't remember Mark Maslowitz, but because I asked her to see if she did. I do wonder how different it would be being part of that sort of world now, reviewing games and things, because back then they were sort of, now it's sort of all YouTubers and stuff that they're trying to kind of get to talk about their games, but there were so sort of few outlets, and we were the only daily one, that they had no choice but to sort of do business with us, really.
At the same time, you could kind of tell lots of software companies didn't, they found it, they begrudged giving us stuff because they couldn't, because it was quite hard to take it. Well, obviously it was gibberish and it was stupid rubbish, and people banding these figures about 1.7 million people. Because they're thinking, really 1.7 million people don't think so. And they obviously they want to have sort of cuttings to show to their boss from magazines and actual hard copies of things. Like, oh yeah, and then there's this weird crap artist. Let me just show you the telly. Oh, like, what's that funny cartoon?
This thing is a press reveal at the bottom. Oh yeah, if you press that, some swans appear.
This is the most popular magazine in Britain.
Man, it was just gibberish, a lot of it. I mean, just but we would just sometimes, because we just didn't give a shit one day, you would just a review that they've sent to you, you've played it, people have worked on for months or whatever, we would just not review it. We would just write a load of rubbish, go off at a tangent, and then give it a score at the end because we couldn't be bothered. So the trouble was, you'd end up just saying the same stuff again and again and again,
and particularly then because there's just relentless outpouring of new releases, many of which were just like licensed platform games that all exactly the bloody same. Really
Ocean's
lazy
games were just the film tie-ins were always the same.
And also, and I guess because we had such, we had. I mean, it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but when you've got like sort of the 80 words, you've got to make it. You really got to. But when you're describing something as visual as a video game, it's almost pointless. You can't do it. So why not just words of like random stream of consciousness?
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the other outlets, and so we have to talk about how you were perceived by your peers in the other magazines, because there was a camp that were very much friends with you and liked what you were doing, and there was a camp that weren't so keen.
Yes, well, it was EMAP hated us, Future loved us, and then there were a couple of others, like, was it Maverick who did Super Control? Was it Maverick that did them?
Yeah, it was Maverick. And you did a whole challenge day against their team.
They really liked us.
Like a picture of you up a tree with some lard and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It was nice when Real magazine really got into it and sort of got what we were doing and found it funny and got us to came all the way down from Nottingham wherever they were and like, okay, let's go, we'll just go into the park buy some lard and take some pictures of you kicking it about and hiding it up a tree and stuff. It was
I remember, well, I was still sort of vaguely, we met them, didn't we, Sanya? But the guys we met up in Manchester, like, I'm still sort of vaguely in touch with.
Oh right,
with them.
That's nice.
Yeah. And then but EMAP, and again EMAP, but Steve Merritt, who was the editor of one of the magazines, you probably know which one. I'm friends with him now on Twitter, and he's a really decent guy, but I don't know what it was. I think there was something about the whole Futures magazine sort of felt more sophisticated at the time, and I think they felt less sort of focused on the personalities that were writing them, which is why we gave ourselves stupid names and didn't kind of do Digitiser under our own names.
Do you want to say, for the record, where the names came from?
Well, hair's from nowhere, really.
I had quite a lot of hair.
You were quite
hairy.
So that'll do.
Hairy man, like Cousin It, back in those days.
But no, it wasn't hairy. That sort of length. Anyway.
Yeah, it was more. I always thought it was more sort of.
It was.
Shoulder
I
length.
thought you had tufts of hair.
It was very bad. It was a very bad style.
No, it was sort of 60s. I always saw it as kind of.
No, I'm not sure what it does.
No.
It was too lateral to be
like crystal tips.
much more that.
It was Biffo the Bear from the Beano or Dandy. I can't remember which, because we went through this phase of going, oh, that's Biffo. That's Biffo the Bear Man, like that. Oh, that's it. We were street.
So when did the bad blood with the EMAP guys start then?
I can't remember what really started it. I think there was some letters published in their pages.
Yeah.
They often had letters complaining about your reviews.
I think it was exactly so. It started out as a letter complaining of a probably a crap review we gave Sonic or something like the famous 72%.
Probably, yeah.
That sort of thing.
And a kid wrote to CVG saying that you'd said that Sonic died of septicemia.
Oh yeah, that.
Is it true?
Maybe the 72% thing was on the undercard then.
So there was that. Then Dan Tootill, who may be watching this, because he's on Twitter, he bless him, he's very apologetic, because this is what really ramped up the feud, and I hope Dan doesn't mind if I put up his picture of his cartoon, but he sent a cartoon into one of the which magazine?
It was Mean Machines.
Mean Machines, and it was we'd done this character called Onion Owl, whose job it was to feed onions to the owls at the zoo.
Owls love onions. It's a known fact.
His name was Onion Owl. Anyway, that was referenced in this cartoon. It was something about the Mean Machines guys taking out toxic waste to feed to the people who write Digitiser, and that was of the idiots who write Digitiser or something like that. And poor Dan Tootill was only a child at the time, but the fact that they'd printed it, we took as okay, right, fine then, right, okay, well we've got 1.5 million viewers, so off we go.
There's something new every day as well. So Biscuit
Skin was what we said to him in a letter to Steve Merritt. Fishback and Biscuit Skin, we called him. Because we sent him a letter. Because
we actually typed it out.
And posted it. Because what happened was they they called us liars for saying we had like 1.5 million viewers, and then we thought, well, we'll send him evidence. We sent him a letter, and then the following week, that was the end of the following month, that was the end of the feud, because they didn't print our letter, probably because we called him Fishback and Biscuit Skin. But he did begrudgingly sort of say, yeah, they do have that many, but it's only because, you know, it registers every kind of person that happens to just glance upon the page, even by accident, or words to that effect. Anyway, so...
But the next letter from a reader that was outraged about a Digi review, the reply was kind of all sheepish, like, oh, we're stopping all this now because they're horrid.
Yeah. We won. Basically, we won. The Digitiser eating that war. We should get Steve on.
The nonsense on Digi started pretty early, didn't it? You had the man within a couple of months, and then like the characters flowed after that.
Yeah.
Was that just you amusing yourselves, and like Tim was saying about not having enough to say about the games and like, the boredom and everything? Because obviously you were still a graphic designer, so
we had a certain number. You could actually, you know, with a certain number of pages, but you could have endless numbers of sort of sub pages within that page. So you could. And when it was something really boring like the charts page, well, what are you going to do about that? Let's the charts. Why not have Mr. Nude presenting the charts?
Yeah, it's where the characters started. You know, it was just the mix of me being able to do the graphics and a mix of us just trying to liven up what was a very dull, static kind of medium, really. So it was sort of, you know, again, it's that perfect storm of kind of the two of us together and you know, what we can both do.
And I think also that the whole press reveal thing, which frankly that was the absolute ceiling of my ability. I could just like, you know, it was kind of like, you know, just because you could import bits, I could get little very basic things that Paul had done and then do a sort of like stupid press reveal thing. But I think that was. I had because it was actually an interactive thing.
Yeah.
And I was amazed that apart from like, you know, what's the answer on Bamboozle or whatever people.
Yeah.
But no one really. Anyway, obviously, it was. For our purposes, it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
You could really be stupid with that. Really surreal.
The nonsense that you were printing then, it wasn't just the odd line here and there or reveal. It was like full page stuff as well, wasn't it?
Sometimes, yeah, the pin-ups.
Like the pin-ups, the April Fools,
I mean, any opportunity to just do something a bit different and random. That it was trying to surprise people as much as anything. You wouldn't know what you were going to get. I mean, the adverts were my favourite thing until they stopped us doing them, because in case people mistook, I don't know, what was some of them, bearded brown for a real product. Whatever, I can't remember what a bearded brown was.
Yeah, they were exactly. They were real labours of love. And those are the things that we used to get most excited about.
Yeah.
I mean, that frankly, a lot of time I'm just sitting there looking at Paul sort of while he creates this stuff.
But there was this sort of, it was like a sort of tag team thing. Often, even within the reviews and stuff, one of us would write the bulk of a thing or do the bulk of a thing, and then either the other person would then tinker a bit, or we'd sit there together and do some stuff. The adverts and stuff like that, I definitely remember being kind of almost, you know, that sort of tag team thing. Or often stuff would happen just because I'd do a typo while I'm typing and then leave that. That became the joke.
Well, yeah, just because there were so few words, and you say, oh, like I really should try and fill up the space, and I've only got like 4 characters left. Or I just put exclamation mark, and that became an absolute stall.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Always in the pantos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm with no spaces.
The pantos, that's all that kind of stuff was by far the stuff we got most excited about.
Yeah.
We planned them for ages, and then we planned it for ages, in the end it was complete gibberish.
David Belt and David Belt and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah.
What else did we have? Cinderella, that was one. I don't know. You remember them better than I do.
But as a reader, this is what surprises me about Teletext's attitude to it, because as a reader, it was like a treasure trove of stuff. And this is why so many people were tuning in, though. And having grown up with the comics of the early 80s that would have this kind of humour in as well, with like full-page fake adverts and things like that, it just seemed like it was a continuation of a certain string of humour.
Well, for me, it was kind of the Python books. Yeah, they always had those kind of
Fake
full page
adverts and
fake
stuff,
ads.
yeah. And Viz a bit, but Viz was a bit kind of a bit less surreal and a bit.
Yeah, I mean Viz I enjoyed. Funny enough, Steve, who sat there, showed me my first ever copy of Viz. You bought it into art one day. You found it in a newsagent's on the way to school. But Viz I never sort of saw as the kind of influence. It was definitely Python for me, and that the goodies book. I had the goodies book of records. That was another one that would have those kind of lavish full page spoof ads. And I think that's where all that came from, really.
You did celebrity interviews with people like K9.
There's very few things. Obviously, well, I'd come home from work like weak with post kind of traumatic laughter hysteria. And my wife was also like, "What's on?" I said, "Oh, I was a really funny day at school." Oh, work. That's an absolutely standard thing. Very few things. When I sort of said, "Well, what's so funny?" and I said, "No, honestly, no." But I remember showing her that the K9 interview, and she still wets herself with laughter. The opening question was, "Do you like real dogs?" Not really. That's a catchphrase of our family. We use that in all sorts of occasions.
But those celebrity interviews were always like that. So I think there was always a not really. There was a one where we interviewed.
Well, that was the OG not really.
Yeah, yeah. But is it the one where we interviewed a character called King or something? Do you know about
I
it?
don't think we found that.
Oh, okay. That was. Was one of my favourites. He was a king, but he was called King. And one of the questions was, "Do you like King Cone adverts?" Not really. King Cone. Do you know what? We should call up some of these on Super page 58. Lardo Court. It's not one of our best.
Freddie Mercury.
Martin Davos, star of TV's Colin the Camp Colonel, says, "Yes, I've had it, and I would have it again." We just laugh. We just laugh at our. See, I don't even remember this one. Turk shave. Mama got bird pluck blues. Buy her Turk shave. Put an end to feathery, hairy, unwanted dinner extras. Turk shave will allow total depilation of all popular fowl. 2 modes: joy and safe. Special attachment vibrates the bird. Vibrates the bird right off your table. Oh God. New and exclusive from Swantail, Soil Songs, a collection of 20 seasonal songs about soil. Mistletoe and soil. Rudolph the Soil-Nosed Reindeer. Oh, this is a classic because he ended up in Biffo.
Oh yes.
Mr. Safety. Be safe. Don't have an accident. Don't fall off. Don't fall out. Don't get germs. Don't get in trouble. Don't die. I won't ever die. It's just literally, that was one of our favourites.
That was one of our favourites.
Oh, that was a good one. I remember.
I have to look at. There's a lot more than last time I looked at this.
Loads
Oh, we
down
found
there
so
now.
much.
This I remember us pissing ourselves at because it was this bank holiday, bring boys to Boy World, the fun adventure park for boys. We had like listing all the things that you could see there, including realistic rubber cat. that we pissed ourselves at for hours. Oh, there's bearded brown. Mothers, please give your husband a bearded brown. A new breakfast ruskoid made entirely from sour licorice. These facts can now be assimilated. Made by fat men in calves. Improves your clickler. Fortified with audible hatred. A pig spat on it. It stinks like a flaking skull, akin to a bullet-shaped paddle. And then TV snowman Rory Pulip says, "I love this stuff. For fuck's sake." No, it's not even fuck. It's F apostrophe F apostrophe. Oh no, F asterisk apostrophe S. For fuck's sake.
I'm just still loving that. Every time I look at this stuff, I imagine some sort of sub-edit. They've just like gone to the news headlines, correcting the spelling mistakes.
Oh, Pie Spy, I remember that. Celebrate the fractured genius of Edward Lear with this unique pewter funnel. The land of the Fin-Fins lived a Nundle Dundle Do. He had no hair. He has a bear. A Fin-Fin funked a Fin-Fin. And then, oh, Mr. Yimble-Ditch had a chock of hair as black as pitch. He brushed it back. Yimble hair as ullaloo.
read that. I had to pass that for broadcast.
Somebody actually read that. And
Yeah.
okayed it.
Oh, French book. Now this is a good one because French book. I remember this was going
the
to
first pomp to pomp, was it?
possibly because this wasn't it. This one. Because we always did the fake ads on a Friday and they'd get read through and it was the end of the week and we put up French book and the sub-editor came over and said, look, I can't be doing with it, can you just take it down? And so we put it up obviously the following week. I can't even make head or tail of what you've written, so can you just remove it? So when wanting to talk like a French French book compiled by French Stick. And then Pomp to English means silent in court. Pomp to Diddle-o means bend it further. Or he non equals okay, I will destroy you. De la Pomp de non means I am Andre Martin. This is what broke one of the subs. The French book is available in two forms, liquid and noxid. Remember, le non, de pompe de celui-là de non ist ein Frakten. Ja, das ist Nixon. See,
Well, I think the first one was the cat, the German cat with the techno.
oh, that's Technozone.
Yes,
It's here, literally here.
I think it was the first one.
Ist ein massive Dancen Blitzen. Das Technozone, jungle hip hop, electric boogie. The Freshen LP for the Disco Volk. Pumping Rave ist massive. Dancen mit the Shake Your Body. Mit the Shaman und the Chaka Khan. mit Apache Indian und the Vanilla Ice. Mit Miller Vanilla und 10cc. Mit Mick Kamen and Dr. Hook. Respect the modern scene. This LP is in the house. The super sounds off the house. The Mecha Cat is here. Yeah, it's cool. Oh dear, oh god, dog. We could just do this all day. Dog, Raymond Thomas, a bit of a classic.
Yeah, Raymond Thomas.
There's K9.
Oh, yeah, there's K. Oh, here we are. Look, it's the K9 one.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, not everyone can have a robot dog, but Doctor Who can. We spoke to his Nervatine metal animal K9. Questions: how do you get into a bed? I get Doctor Who to throw me in. Do you like real dogs? Not really. What was your favourite bit in Doctor Who? When I tried to blow off in the TARDIS.
Exclamation mark.
What did you do after they sat you? Went home and had a bath. What's that? I had a bath. Do you have any advice? Not really.
Yeah, obviously when you want to win with that catchphrase.
Oh, there's one with Davros. Red Davros is best known for his work as the daddy of the Daleks and arch enemy of Doctor Who. We spoke to him at his metal tower in Israel. Davros, do Daleks scare you? Of course not. They're made out of rubber. What do you think of Doctor Who? He could be okay, but his hair is dreadful. Do you have any pets? Pets, yes. I have 2 dogs and a hawk. So, Davros, what are you currently doing? I'm appearing in an advert for Black Margarine. Goodbye, Davros. Like the Fonz. Interview with the Fonz. Star of 1940s TV comedy Grease. The Fonz delighted audience with his funny dancing and thumbs up gestures. Now a new generation is enjoying his act. We talked to him outside a fortress. How did you get your name? You know, when I got married. What do you call that dance you do? I call it Super Fonz dance. What's your favourite food? Mince. Do you enjoy reading fan mail? What? Did you buy your jacket? I bought it from World of Leather. Have you ever seen OTC? I think so. The Fonz, you've been very informative. Oh God, I love these. We need to start and move on, but I don't want to. My throat hurts. Who's this? Oh, the Phantom of the Opera. I'll just read a bit. So the Phantom of the Opera is here. Inside your screens. We met up with the well-known singer-songwriter at his home in a nightclub. What's your favourite song? Love and Pride by King. Right, that's enough. Okay, we must move on.
Oh, God.
Chris, do you have anything you want to add to wrap up.
I just want to say thank you for what you guys did 30 years ago.
Oh, thank you for keeping it alive,
Yeah,
Chris.
thank you. Really, honestly, it's an extraordinary resource you created there. Look how much joy it's bringing us.
yes.
It's a public service. It's what I do it. It's not just me. A whole generation of readers have had their minds warped by your nonsense.
But few of them are as self-indulgent as we are. Man, well, thank you, Chris, for taking an hour out of our day.
You'll never get back.
Yeah, not really. All right, bye-bye, everyone. Man, I need to get some air.